Good day to you from the office of Jess Carter here at the Newberry Church of Christ, Newberry, Florida. Today I'd like to ask you a question, and that is, who are you voting for? Myself, I'm not talking about the election. I'm talking about who are you voting for? Are you voting for God? Are you going to make the right choice? We are not unique in this country to mankind. Mankind has always had the opportunity of choice. When God created man, when he made this world, he put Adam and Eve in the garden, and he gave them a choice to obey or not obey him. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 15, we find that he told them and gave them something to do. They had the choice. He told them to dress the garden and to keep it. Not just to enjoy the garden and not do anything, but to dress and to keep it. They had to make the choice to do what God wanted them to do. We see they had no difficulty at all doing that. It's not recorded that they had any trouble at all working with their hands and their backs and doing what God wanted them to do. But God had also gave them in chapter 2, verse 17. He said, "Do not eat of this one tree. All the trees and all the fruit of the garden he could gave to them to eat, but he told them, he said, now do not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil." They made choices. They had the choice that God gave them. That's what we are like God in many ways. We have a choice. We can see all through the Bible. If we had to give a theme to the Bible, I believe that theme would be where man made choices. Some of them was not wise. Some of them was very good. One case I'm thinking of course, is in Joshua. I love the verses in Joshua. There at the end of Joshua, in Joshua 24, we find, I believe, a beautiful statement where in Joshua, where God is talking to Joshua, to the people. Joshua in verse 14, after the promise of God giving them the land and all this, Joshua said this. He said, "Now, therefore, fear the Lord. Serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your father served on the other side of the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. And if it seemed evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourself this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your father served that was on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whom land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Joshua had made a choice. The people that had followed him, the people that had did so well and been so good, he told them they had a choice to serve God and worship him with sincerity and in truth. But they had to choose. All through the Bible is a history of choice. They said after this, they said, "We will serve God." You read the next verse, it says, "We will serve God." And I think the great answer to that is that just on down in verse 31 of the end of Joshua 24:31, we have the good ending to this story, because it talks about the Israelites. It says this: "Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua, who had known all the work of the Lord which he had done for Israel." Look at that. A whole generation, they served God. Oh, that we had a generation today that served God. We need to have that kind of generation. Every generation must make the choice to serve God. They have to, each one of us, each generation, have to confess the name of Christ, have to believe in Christ. They have to make that choice. Later, we can see in Acts 22, well, Paul is recanting his conversion in the sense that he was on the road and the light came, and the light and the Lord spoke down to him and gave him a choice. He believed in Christ. He believed in him. He saw him. And Christ spoke to him and gave him a choice. He said, go unto Damascus, and there it shall be told you what you must do. He gave him a choice. He could have went on to Damascus. He could have went to Jerusalem or any place else. But he had that choice, and he went. And when he went into that city, he made the choice. And when he came, and then a man of God, Ananias, came to him in Acts 22 and 16. And when Ananias saw that he believed, when he told that statement, he looked at Paul and he said this to him, why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized and put away thy sin, calling on the name of the Lord. He told him, he says, you need to make a choice. He made the right choice. Today, I say this to all of us, and every one of you, and to myself. We need to make the choice. And we need to make that choice not just once, but daily. Revelation 2 and 10. Towards the end of 10, it says there, be thou faithful unto death, and thou shalt receive a crown of life. It's not a choice we make once in a life, but the choice that we make, we need to continue to make daily as we live here on earth, as we prepare to be with Christ. Christ said this in John 14, he says, I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, there you might be also. Make the good choice, and God be with you till we meet again.